All right. Hello and welcome back to One Dark Universe. I'm your host, Howard Palmer, and today's guest is Mark Toorock. If you know me and you know my parkour life, you know when I started, I'd say early 2006. It really made a difference to me to find a community. Fast forward, I met Mark Toorock, went up to Washington, got a chance to get involved with the community, even was honored with a sense of support in the community as a sponsor, and really navigated my self confidence around the community of parkour. And even as a 26-year-old at the time, now 46, 20 years later, I'm getting back to what feels like a circle, like I'm completing a circle. Mark has been instrumental in my start of parkour and understanding the community because as history proves it, he is the one that brought parkour to the US and was able to put it on a platform in a way that others were able to understand it, at least at the beginning, the fundamentals, the foundation. He used to run monthly, if not weekly jams, in a way to bring the community together. And as any human, we grow. And so some of us remember Mark in all his great, and some of us remember Mark when he got quiet. I remember Mark in both spaces because I experienced that. I was all over the place, and then I got quiet. About 5 years ago, I started talking about I was the best in parkour over 40. There was no competition. There was nobody even caring. Really, what it was for me was a sense of self and confidence and proving that parkour can be done over 40, 30, 50. Truth be told, Mark Toorock started that. He started a group on Facebook called Parkour Over 30 and Parkour Over 40. I was in the Parkour Over 30 group and I snuck into the Parkour Over 40 group without being kicked out, got a little bit of flack because they found out I wasn't 40, but I was really excited just to be a part of a community at the time that looked like we wanted to take parkour to another direction or forward. So, little bit said there. Mark Toorock, please introduce yourself and maybe let us know who is Mark Toorock right now.
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here. I love the work that you do and the openness that you share with people. I think that one of the most important parts of the message is I think we all have a conversation in our head. We all ask that question. Who am I? Who is Mark Toorock? I don't know. I ask that question 10 times a day. Who is Mark Toorock? And who is he now? And who was he? And who does he want to be? And what's he doing to get there? Right. And I think that for me, it's important that is an evolving thing. That Mark Toorock isn't a static image. It's an idea of who I want to be, and really that's formed by the impact that I want to have on the world. I want to help other people enjoy this life and navigate this life and feel good about themselves, and also feel good physically and have a physical way to move and enjoy the embodiment of this life, because I believe that the two are inseparable. I believe that the mind is critical, but a mind without a body can't explore and enjoy everything that this life has to offer. I love rock climbing and jumping on rocks and streams and just visiting different places and different lands and different people, and doing all of that requires a body that hopefully I'm going to keep in shape that'll allow me to do those things. So yeah.
So what I hear there is Mark Toorock continues to explore who Mark Toorock is. And you adapt into your environment with a sense of intention. Like you said, with the mind and the body, they have to have a oneness or a harmony in practice. You can't just have one without the other. I fully agree with that. Fully agree with that. And I think without words, maybe that was one of the things that resonated with us, whether cosmically or universally. Because when I met you the first time and sitting with you on that roof, one of the things that was clear to me is that you wanted to be a community leader, regardless of who you may have been in your past. I didn't know your past. I came to learn your past. But the person that I met that day was a community leader on purpose with intention. And obviously, this was years into you hosting those jams in Washington. So it wasn't like your first one. So people have already known you to already form a community. So I would say that's true. It seems like you continuously grow, and that's what resonates with me. I have to continuously grow. I think that was one of my purpose on this earth, to evolve or to constantly adapt within myself. And I've been through enough experiences to let me believe that no matter the circumstance, as long as I choose and I choose with intention and I have some type of practice of love and harmony, I'll win. And that's the competition with myself. So thank you for sharing that. I fully appreciate you offering that. And I know you used to have a dog, Winnie. Tell me a little bit about your dog. What, give me, spend as long as you want to about your dog.
Oh, Winnie. Uh, Truly the love of my life. I think it's been 4 years now that she's gone. Um,
Mm,
she was a rescue dog. She was uh, at the time when I first got her, she was not a good dog. she she had been abused and she acted that way. And I think it's important lesson that when we meet difficult people, it's easy to dismiss them and it's hard to ask why they're difficult. What what formed them to act or lash out or be the way that they are? And I don't like giving excuses, but there's a difference between giving an excuse and giving some grace and saying, "Hey, why is this?" And maybe that person's just having a bad day at that moment, and we don't know where they've been, we don't know what they've been through, we don't know where they're going, we don't know where they are on their journey. Maybe they've already improved 5,000%, and we're seeing an evolving version of them. And I think that that's one of the best lessons that I got from Winnie is, you know, I truly believe no bad dogs, right? They're just dogs who have been
all dogs go to heaven.
kind of put through the ringer, right? And I
Mhm.
think they're really, I'd love to say there are no bad people. They're just people who have been put through the ringer and
Mhm.
they need, I'm not saying that they're good at the moment, but I'll
Right.
say that they're inherently good and they just need work to get to where they can be the best version of
Yeah.
themselves. So,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. You definitely loved your dog. You definitely treated your dog as your equal in respects to your life. And I do remember Winnie in the beginning, and she was aggressive. And as time progressed, she became less aggressive. Less aggressive. I would say that is a reflection of possibly how you showed up in different spaces. Mark was aggressive here, then he wasn't aggressive here, then he was calm here, now he's more meditative here. So I think learning about you was also learning about you through your dog. And the reason why I asked that is you spent a lot of time socially anyway, living with your dog and adventuring with your dog and your wife and your life. You know, I saw all those things. I was definitely a notification updater or anything you posted. I just watched it, consumed it. Because to me, I didn't need to know you to understand you were on your own path. And to me, that's a example we can all work with or from. And in that breath, I would say that, you know, I can accept the understanding there are no bad people. But good and bad is relevant, right? In the space of your perspective, and in hopes that we can all find some love and peace in this practice of existence. Um, that idea of bad and good can somehow maybe be accepted as you were saying, as an understanding of where that person is. It's not personal, and then we can learn to go to the better versions of ourselves. I think for me, that was one of the things that made parkour so instrumental to my growth. I have a big martial arts background. I have two black belts, and I have, I'm gonna say, 8 albums out for my music. I've done shows, I've been in schools, and I was a network engineer for 20 years, along with my parkour life. For me, the practice was about growth. It was consistency over intensity. Looking at you, you had a similar approach. Tell us, or tell me, the listeners, all of us really, when you had to close the gym, what was that like for you, and what was the transition after that when you had to close down Primal Fitness?
That's a tender spot. It's
Yeah,
it's frankly, it's admitting failure, and a big part of my life message is embracing failure. I believe that there's no success without failure. You can't point to someone who's successful and tell me that they never failed along the way. There's nobody that went in a straight line. There's no straight line growth, straight line acceleration. Anyone who's achieved something has experienced frustration and setbacks. And what we call failure, but I would say is a component of success. I say failure is a component of success. You must have failed along the way to get to success. And some of those failures are painful. They're frankly, in some ways, they're all irreversible because the universe, at least in my lifetime, moves in one direction, right? So we can make up for things, we can change our future direction, but we can't change the past. And closing the gym for me really was it was a very, very tough decision because I genuinely, with all my heart, loved the people, the community, the I don't think I ever used the word customer in the gym. They were members. They were people that I was surrounded with and who I loved and appreciated and enjoyed. And I love the experience that we all created together. I think it's important as a lesson to me, and one that I still work on and struggle with as recently as half an hour ago. Who is Mark Toorock? I tried for a long time to essentially run almost 8 businesses. I had parkour clothing. I had a performance team. I was building equipment. I was running my own gym. So all of these different things, the CrossFit gym and the parkour gym were 2 separate businesses because I just couldn't get people to do both, no matter how hard I tried. So I've got a CrossFit gym, a parkour gym, both separate companies. I've got the online store with clothing, with equipment. I've got a performance team. I'm doing consulting work. I'm making TV
this is
shows.
all before AI.
This is all before AI. I've got no clones of myself. And
Yeah.
finally, a very good friend of mine, and actually the woman who's really gets the credit for parkour in schools, Miriam Kenyon of
Mhm.
Washington, D.C. Public Schools, said to me, Mark, I believe that you can do anything, but you can't do everything.
Right.
And that
That's
was
true.
that was such a huge moment for me. And so closing the gym is bittersweet because really, um, in the gym, I didn't run the best business that I could, and that hurts to admit. And again, without trying to create an excuse, I was trying to do 8 different businesses. So of course, I didn't do the best I could at any one of those businesses because I was so divided and so split. And had I perhaps started from success with one and had money in the bank, then I could start another one from a net positive instead of starting all of them on a shoestring and trying to make
Yeah.
8 struggling small businesses work. So closing the gym has really allowed for focus on parkour in schools, and I
Mhm.
think we're really making some headway there.
Positive. No, I would agree. I would agree with that. Again, I follow you on LinkedIn as well, and I see a lot of the progression and the work that you're doing there in the schools. So shout out to people who helped you. And she is right. Um, I would support that by saying I have a phrase that helped me through that in a similar space. Just because I'm strong doesn't mean I lift everything. You know,
Exactly.
I definitely had a habit of thinking I could do that. As I mentioned, with all my talents and my accolades and supports, it means nothing if I'm not happy with doing them and if it doesn't bring back a sense of value to the things that are important to me. For you, it was community. For me, it's family. They're both the same thing, but how are you actually contributing to that? And if you're spreading yourself thin, it's gonna be impossible. I won't say it's you can't do it, but impossible is impossible until it's not, right? Until it's possible.
Everything's
So
impossible until it's not.
yeah, there's no in between. So if you think something's impossible, it's gonna be that way until it's possible. But in a lot of ways, I really hear you on that, and I thank you again. My conversation with you in this moment is really like a full circle, as I mentioned. I don't have anything to get to. You know, it's just really a pleasure talking with you. And I'd say for my side, watching us grow on social media and the thing that we both loved and how you navigated it into what it is today, there's a lot of people in the US specifically, I'll speak for them, who wouldn't have a chance to do parkour if it wasn't for APK, wouldn't have a chance to be on a platform if it wasn't for APK. And I think you've done that tenfold in relation to solidifying that you can fall in love with yourself and a discipline and show up every day and it will work, period. You can do that across multiple spectrums, but as Mark shows you, it's not going to be as successful as you want it to be. You are a giant, you know, so standing on the shoulder of a giant, you get to see some things. And if you learn to humble yourself, if you see that someone in a big perspective or a big position in your community is somewhat taking a knee or finding a way to adapt, to me that speaks volumes. You know, it's it's you learning how to step aside and not be bullheaded. And to your point, that's a practice. That's an everyday thing. So just because you're strong doesn't mean you lift everything. And yes, you can do anything you want, but not everything. Yeah. And so shout out to life lessons, wisdoms, to people who want to see us grow, and to ourselves for adapting on purpose. Mm, how much do you hike?
Quite a bit. I do want to step back for a second and say that I also appreciate the growth that I've seen from you. Uh,
Mm,
that I sitting on that roof with you, core memory. 20. I can't believe how long it's been locked in as a core memory. I can see us
yeah.
sitting there.
Same, same.
And back then I appreciated the person you were, who is far different from the person you are now, but super positive energy. Back then, I saw something in you that made me want to be connected to you as a person. So, shout out to you for the work that you've done, and I love watching your journey and the intention that you put in everything. And I also want to touch on something that's really important to me is you've
Hmm.
used the word practice twice now, and
Hmm.
practice is my favorite word because everything's a practice.
Oh
Literally
yeah, oh
everything
yeah.
is a practice. Meditating, I don't meditate right. I practice meditation. I
You
don't,
don't live life right.
yeah, I don't cook right. I practice cooking. I don't do parkour right. I practice parkour. And
Yeah.
so just facing everything as a practice, as a developmental process. And that also doesn't mean not enjoying it or not feeling complete. We can feel complete once we embrace that it is a practice. The only time we're going to
Yeah.
not feel complete is when we have some strange absolute that we've set. When I can run a marathon at this speed, then I'll be a runner. No, when you put your shoes on and get out the door, you're a runner. It's the practice that matters. And yes, we can set some metrics to try and improve certain aspects, but don't let that get in the way of the fact that it is a practice, and it's joyful every time we practice. And hiking, sometimes I set my watch and I'm like, oh, I've got to get this pace per mile and blah blah blah. And then sometimes I'm like, I'm in the woods. Look at this,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and they both hold aspects of joy for me, right? So one is using hiking as a tool for fitness with a lot of elevation. My wife and I are signed up for a 50K, so I'm excited that we'll be doing that in September, the Bryce 50K, and just setting that challenge out there is not I'm not going to get a time. I'm not worried about a time. I'm worried about getting there and experiencing it and doing it. And yeah, hopefully I finish. That's the goal, is to finish. And I will be
But
trying for time.
you're gonna practice that
But
journey. And
yeah,
I think one thing I try to remember is that doctors are always in practice. Doctors, they have a practice. They don't have a not practice. They never stop practicing. And definitely shout out to your wife for kicking your butt, because I would say she has been the hiker, and then all of a sudden you showed up. Like, you would post a lot of photos and videos of you, like, look at my amazing wife, she's killing. I'm like, yeah, Mark, so when are you gonna join her? Because eventually, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna feel like you're left behind. And sure enough, you did. So it seems like you have a good supportive team around you and people that inspire you to move forward, and they have their own strength. And that to me is in part with that same conversation, you're only as strong as your community, the people around you. And that also works with your self-esteem. So when I ask about the hiking, it's really also a reflection on how I show up for myself. I love hiking. I have a hiking stick in my car. I go hiking. I used to do a lot of trail supports at Chautauqua over in Boulder, Colorado when I lived there. And the whole idea of showing up for life is a practice to me. I love meeting people who have their own philosophy, but maybe a similar meaning of how this is all just for fun, but it's not easy, right? You got to find that way to balance the love and the joy, because you just have to. I mean, I don't know of any other way. I don't try to read and learn everything, nor do I want to. But knowing that I can show up every day, I can choose how I show up every day, doesn't mean I'll choose how my life is going to go or the day is going to go, but I can balance my sense of awareness. And as you mentioned, you go hiking and then all of a sudden you may take a breath, your body might slow down, whatever it is, but then your perspective changes in that moment. And you're like, oh, wow, look at this awareness right now. Look at how I can cherish this moment right now instead of chasing any type of joy that may or may not happen. That to me is a wisdom that's practice again, and something that you live through with intention, and people will see it. So again, seeing your family, seeing you show up, there was not very words you were offering. You were just showing up, and it spoke for itself. And that to me is the same person that I met 20 years ago. You may not be doing the 8 things you were doing before, but as far as Howard is concerned, Mark Toorock is still adapting on purpose, with intention, practicing. And I love that. I love that for you. I want you to keep that going, because it supports me, if that matters, but it definitely makes you a better person. Um, uh, let's see. Oh, my biggest thing right now. How much water do you drink? I love water right now.
oh man, you asked me the wrong week. So so I was doing really well. I was out snowboarding in Colorado 2 weeks ago, and I did it wrong and twisted my knee. And
Oh,
so for the last 2 weeks, I've been hobbling around. I'm on a diet now, so I'm eating, my food is dialed in. I mean, calories, grams of protein. I have eaten zero sugar for the last 3 days. Uh, the
Ooh.
sweetest thing I have eaten in the last 3 days is 1/3 of a tablespoon of date syrup that I put in spaghetti sauce. Okay. And I love candy. I love sweets.
Yeah, that's why I'm laughing. I'm a cookie monster. I can't do it.
I will
I can't.
eat. You name it, ice cream, Italian ice, candy,
Mm,
whatever it is. I love it. And so my pants don't fit anymore. So I'm working on that. And again, I injured my knee. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but that's
mm,
kept me kind of inactive for the past almost 3 full weeks now. So I
mm.
am probably down on my hydration, although I have my food really dialed in now because I have the time to do that, thankfully, this week and next week. Um,
So,
but like yesterday, I walked 2 miles, and that's the most activity I've had in 3 weeks. So I got to get back to, as soon as my knee is able to, I'll get back to training. And when I'm running, I'm hydrated. I'm super hydrated. I'm drinking 3 liters a day when I'm on my normal training schedule. 3 liters of specifically water, plus 3 cups of coffee, 5 cups of tea, and then
ooh,
3 liters of
okay.
water, and
Yeah,
also creatine. You didn't
okay.
ask specifically about supplements, but creatine is the one that I recommend for anybody and everybody. We just don't get enough creatine, and creatine,
Yeah.
it's now, while it still supports muscle growth, people are realizing how much it supports brain function and brain energy,
Oh yeah.
and the
Hmm.
doses are actually higher for that than they are for muscle growth. So
No, I have my bottle right here. I'll show it to you. So what I do is a combination of the two. I have on my workout days. I may take a pre-workout. If not, then it's just mostly fruits. And then on my days off, the first thing in the morning after having a cereal or some water, whatever, then I take a performance supplement with creatine in it. And so while this is like 34, $40, to me, that's a lot of money. Sometimes it's even more, like $100 for the actual bottle of it, like the 2 pound container. But it has been a game changer for me in general. Like if I put it in and I chop it up with some berries, I don't drink it at night because it keeps me bloated in the morning. But in the day, if I drink it in the day and be done with it within an hour or less, then throughout the day, I feel the adjustment. I feel the difference. I feel the growth. And I don't feel like I'm jacked. I don't feel like if I don't take it one day, because I don't take it every day. I honestly take it twice a week. And I'm thinking I can take it more, but I don't want to at the moment. And the fact that I can manage it without feeling like I'm missing it, to me, I would agree with you 100%. Creatine is where it's at.
nice.
Let's see. Oh, parkour over 40. Taking a few seconds. Thank you so much. I think I've mentioned that before, but want to say it again for even thinking like that. Now, people are all of a sudden talking about their age. Oh, I'm 40 this, I'm 40 that, I'm 50 this. You put that seed and I made it public. Tim also foundationally made it consistent, made it even visually possible. Granted, he had a military background and he was already a tough guy. So it was obvious he could do this stuff. Shout out to Tim. Thank you, Timothy. When I saw that, that inspired me to show up every day for myself. My example right now is made purely from parkour, at least 20 years of it. And then the aspirations of movement, fitness, and martial arts are behind it. Going forward, I think, and it's obvious, there are going to be athletes, male and female, who just only had parkour in their life, period. No other sport. And they're in their 40s and their 50s. I'll say for myself, we just created that. What does that mean to you when you think of it like that? Or do you think of it now knowing anything of it or what it looks like today?
So I think it's important to look at sort of the history of that group. I think it was 12 years ago that
Mhm.
I created the Parkour Over 40 group, and the the message there is, and this was at one point my stated life goal, was to raise the age at which it's acceptable to play in public.
Yes.
And one of my, I'll call this a rant or a lament or whatever we want to call it, is, or I could put a positive spin. One of my aspirations and projects is that even at a very young age, and there's a gender gap here as well, young boys and young girls are told to stop playing, literally told to stop playing. They're told to stop climbing trees. Sometimes even with the gender inequality, they're told girls don't do that. And my answer to that is girls do whatever they want to. Um, and we've got to work on that. We've got to work on those perceptions that anybody should stop playing at any age. I find that play is not only central to our health and well-being, but it is so in ways that are huge and life implicating. And that is, again, we can look at things through the lens of I have to achieve. And I think that there's some merit to those, and there's merit to tracking and numbers and all of that. But I find there's much more life value in the play mindset of I'm going to play tennis and I don't care what the score is. I'm going to go out every morning with my friend and we're going to hit the ball back and forth. Those people are going to enjoy health. They're going to enjoy mental health because they are not chasing perfection. They are practicing tennis, and they're practicing it just for the joy of being out there. And they're getting exercise without trying to exercise. They're doing something that's active, that's fun, and most importantly, they're approaching it from a play mindset. And so that play, I find, unfortunately, is robbed from us at a very young age, where it's time to get serious and act like an adult, and all of these other sayings that we have that are just kind of poppycock. Don't stop playing. And particularly for people, again, over 30, over 40, and back at the time, we also, and unfortunately it never really took off, but we have PK plus for people on the heavy side. And we had a couple of
Okay.
just real champions in that group. Some of my favorite people who were just these really heavy people that got out and moved and experienced
Yeah.
that joy of movement. And that to me was really one of the more beautiful parts of that. And I love seeing people 40, 50, 60, 80 moving. My dad just had his 90th birthday, and I have a video of him doing squats. And so, how cool is it that he can do squats without holding the kitchen sink, that he can get out of a chair without using his hands because he's done exercise kind of regularly. Um, and so, yeah, I think the importance for me is that message of we should all feel comfortable and be able to enjoy moving around in public. And this is one of the things that you talk about a lot, and I love, and I think that you really embody, is my perception of myself in a public space isn't based on your perception of me in a public space. I'm going to use this space. I'm going to train. I'm going to do my thing here, and it's not in an abrasive way, but it's in an agnostic way. I don't care what your opinion of me is here. because I'm doing my thing here and I have every right to. I'm not, and it's not, I'm not impeding somebody else. I'm not impeding somebody else's right to enjoy the space or anything like that. Right? APK number one rule: respect for yourself, respect for the environment, respect for others
Leave no trace. Yep.
is always there. I don't think that my right to walk across the top of a swing set uh, is more important than a child's right to be swinging on the swing. Right? I
Right.
think that those two, frankly, are intertwined. I also don't think that their right to swing on the swing is more important than my right to walk across the top of it. Right?
It's a
And
playground.
right, right. And it's learning how to share space with other
Yeah.
people so that we can all enjoy it. And again, nobody should feel, based on any factor, that they don't
Right.
belong in a space. This world belongs to all of us. And so
Yeah.
nobody should be made to feel that they don't belong. And we have so many layers and things in society and growing up in school, in structure and politics and all these things that just narrow instead of embrace. And
Well,
so
it makes me think about what you just said, and I'll let you finish, is that we inherited this opportunity called life. We inherited the idea of growing. We don't own anything, to the fact that you don't own your heartbeat, you don't own your bowel movements, you don't own when you die. You just manage them. So I agree with you. Please continue. And there is a structure in society that is intentionally framing or boxing in our mind. I have a new phrase. I don't know if you know, but I've been on phrases all my life. I wrote a book called 100 Ways to Be Cosmic, and it's just a bunch of phrases. I come up with these phrases a lot. I think it's more of a channeling of my meditation. But the new phase, or the other phase that I have along with just because you're strong doesn't mean you lift everything, is when you show up, so does everything. But who are you? So when you look at your life, you're like, man, what's in front of me? All these things, society, again, society is forcing you to say you can't play anymore. So that version of you showing up is seeing a sign that says kids only K through 12, and taking that literally and thinking there's somebody that's going to give you a ticket if you swing on this thing. That is in your brain. Go swing if you want to swing. The idea there is to let children know that they're invited, they belong in this environment. But to your point, you belong anywhere you want to be. How you see it is where you are. And obviously, living in a country like we do in America, that's not their program. Their program is all about boxing you in. Another phrase, and the last phrase I'll leave you with, um, is all these squares make a circle. All these squares make a circle. Everywhere we look, the door is a square. This computer screen is a square. The window is a square. The schools are square. Frames are squares. Cars, everything is square. When you look in nature, you see no shape, but one shape that is always universal is a circle. It's like, how does a soap bubble become round? Like, why is it even round? Right? You don't create soap bubbles. How come there's no other shape in soap bubbles than round? Why we call it a soap bubble, not a soap triangle or a soap octagon. So there is a universal sense to all this consciousness that it has a circling. Let's use the perception of circle, a wholeness. The earth is even round as we accept it to be. No conversation there for me that it's not. But the point is, it's obvious everything comes back around. So all these squares make a circle. Um,
I
so
like it.
that's supporting what you're saying in my mind.
I like it. Yeah, and the other thing that I'll touch on is you talked about ownership. I'm super fortunate. We live in the woods here in the mountains in Virginia, and
Mm.
I don't think of myself as an owner of this land. I think of myself as a steward of the land. If someone hikes through my backyard, I hope they stop in for a glass of water and a chat. It's
Awesome.
how does one own land? What what would that even mean?
Well,
I,
you give the inhabitants smallpox, and then you steal you steal everything from them. You put your name on it, put a barcode on it, and
But
then say it's yours. No, in all honesty, when we think about it, we take a step back. There is no there's nothing but love. All this thing is love. All it is joy and acceptance. The contrasting experiences or the adaptation ability of us is just that. You came to this experience, you came to this world, you came to this reality to experience, to manifest from nothing. Before there was anything, there was the thought. And from the thought came the sound, the verse, the word, the light. These things aren't made up, they're true. Disprove it if you can. Spend your life trying to disprove that if you can. But when you learn to accept, you learn to find peace in yourself, primarily in yourself, then you see all these squares make a circle. It all
there's
comes
something
back to you.
I hope you can see. I'm not sure if you'll be able to. This is a little
Mm,
sticker I have on the bottom of my monitor. Uh,
yeah.
it's
What's it say? No, it's not coming through as clear.
not gonna
But tell
focus.
us, what does it say?
It says, "I am light and love and happiness,"
See, Mark,
and
we're friends and we don't even hang out. No,
it's
definitely,
just a
definitely.
constant reminder that just as you just said, the whole experience is amazing, and I'm not I'm not a people hater, but people are the thing that
Me
drag
neither.
that down, right? People
Yeah,
that,
but I love people. I love people, but I hate humans, is what I say. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. So I love people, but people create everything that's bad. Like everything. There's this comedian who talked about. He's like, I gotta go to. He was talking to God. He says, I gotta go to work.
Mhm,
God says, what's work? He's like, well, it's my job I do so I can make money. God's like, what's money?
mhm.
He's like, oh, it's this stuff that you have to earn so I can buy food. God says, food?
Okay.
I left it lying on the ground. It's all over the place,
Mm,
right?
mm.
And it really was like the world is full of abundance, and
Yeah,
we as a society have made it into a rat cheese maze to get there instead of just enjoying what is. Go outside and play. There's literally nothing stopping any human being right now from going outside and playing, from dancing
other than
right
their
where they
minds,
are.
right?
Dance, get up and dance, get up and shake it, move yourself, smile, laugh, all of those things. And this is not to minimize anybody who's having a difficult time right now. Not
Right,
to
right,
minimize that at all. When I say there's nothing that's stopping you, that doesn't minimize people's experience. But
right.
everybody, at least in their own mind, can cut themselves a little slack, give themselves some self love, and spend that time on themselves.
They would have to. I fully agree with that. I think back to that circling thought. Sometimes we wait for life to give us the signal, the sign to slow down. Your example of hurting yourself while playing is not that you were moving too fast. It's just that you had fun, and now it's time to recuperate so you can have more fun. Some people, some adults, most of us have been conditioned to never even take it that far. Your example of climbing a tree or balancing on a curb or even playing on a playground or even swinging on something or doing a cartwheel or galloping on all fours or walking on all fours or touching your toes. These things are somewhat far-fetched for adults because they're childish, right? And whether it's video games that are another concept, or whether it's just learning how to show up and dress the way you want to and act and be the way you want to, that takes people in this conversation, like me and you, I'll say like you, to show up for yourself intentionally so we can have the confidence in ourselves because of the conditioning that someone somewhat takes away that self-confidence, as you mentioned. And I'm working with children now. They have all the confidence in the world. You're like, man, where did you get this confidence from? And then eventually, and then I coach my teenagers and they're just like, like, what? Wait a minute, that's your younger brother, right? Why is he outshining you? Well, I just don't do that. Since, you know, I was like, your friends aren't here, man. You can do it. I promise I won't laugh at you. I'll laugh if you hurt yourself because it's funny, but it's not because I'm laughing at you. Your brother did it. Again, your example to me is universal in that reflection that we are stuck consistently. And if we try to find a way to love ourselves more than fight against it, that's why my phrase is I love people, but I hate humans. I twist it around sometimes and say I love humans, but I hate people because people are the ones that created society. Humans exist, whatever, doesn't matter. It works for me when it works. At least I have something that works. I have something that helps me eat, you know? You're mentioning of God putting it everywhere. Yes. But do you see that? Do you see the abundance? Do you understand that it is for you to go hunt it? It's not going to be put in your hand, but if it's there, then you have to figure out the ability to go get it. We taught ourselves how to walk. There's nothing on this planet with all this AI stuff yet that is teaching humans how to walk. Humans teach themselves how to walk. We learn through observation, not absorption. We see it and then we find it. These practices are something that we may come to reflection to as we get older, but we know it innately as children. That in between that I'm mentioning is where you and I are right now. You're further along in the sense of your humility in your conversation, and I think I'm trying my best to get out of it without damaging myself because I've done a lot. And in relation to trying to prove something that eventually never needed to be proved, but it was obviously in me, I needed to prove it. And so I hope that you continue being Mark Toorock because whoever that version of you is today and tomorrow, it seems like you're always going to be in love with yourself. And that's important, or at least practice showing up for yourself. And then when you don't drink enough water this week, it's not the end of the world. You know, it's like, all right, well, there's still an ocean, so there's more water to go drink eventually. Maybe there's too much salt in it, so I'll find some fresh water. It doesn't matter. You will adapt, you will grow. It's not, you don't get stuck. So thank you so much, Mark. Again, this was just me hoping you would say yes, and you said yes, and we got a chance to talk. Um, I just wanted to talk to you, man. That's really it. I didn't have any other thing else, and I want to thank you for taking that space from me.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate the opportunity, and again, I love what you're doing, and it's actually a little weird to me when you say I'm further along the path because I see all the work you're doing, and I don't really compare. You know, we're on the
I got
path,
you.
and you know we have trajectory and we have momentum, right? And that's what matters is that everybody's on the path, right? If you're a human, you're on the same path as we are. Just what's your trajectory, what's your intention, what's your fuel, what's your energy that you're using for that. And I think that you share a lot of fuel with other people, and a lot of people look to all the work that you're doing and are inspired by you. So keep up the great work.
Each one teach one, Mark. I'm definitely thank you for that. And I would say that your work has inspired me to do that. You are my giant in that space, especially with parkour. And for the listeners and viewers, whatnot, listen, I'm in San Diego. I need your help. Um, get me in an opportunity that helps me shine more to where I can continue to be of support to this community globally, parkour specifically, mental health specifically, because people like Mark, they deserve their message to continue to be spread or shared in relation to how it affected people. I think you didn't get enough light, but then that's okay. You got the light you deserved. And so I would hope that in the future, parkour is still consistent for anybody, no matter the age. The conversation of age is irrelevant. It's just important, meaning like it doesn't matter your age as long as you show up for yourself. But seeing someone that has, whether in their 20s or their 30s or 40s or 50s, that are a good example of what anyone can be, I still think is important. And so thank you again for creating that group, creating this concept, bringing that consciousness down to us. They don't give you the love you deserve, but you giving it to you've given it to us tenfolds, and you show it to me every day, and even in this opportunity. So thank you for those kind words, and please, Mark, please keep being Mark.
Will do, Howard.
All right, thank you so much. Bye for now, man.